Okay.
All right. And we're 5 minutes in. Now we can start the podcast,
Now we're
Jim.
ready to roll. Okay.
Yeah.
How bad?
No. It's okay. I should have cleared that or checked on that before we officially got started. But hey, we're here now and we're ready to go. So
let's go. House rules.
Any recap on the week though before we get started?
I had my first week of school with the kids, and that's all great. And we had a 4-day weekend, so taught for 4 days and 4 days off. So starting back up on Tuesday. So I got tomorrow off like everybody else. How about you?
I my kids, volleyball in college, so we did like a road trip and spent a few days. It's a little different than high school where you run around town. Now it's like you run around the country. Okay. So, so we were able to get a hotel and hit up 3 different games in different parts of California, and that was fun. Today was a day at the lake, so that was nice. But I'm ready to talk craps tonight.
There you go. Let's go.
Yeah.
So house rules. What exactly, when you hear the phrase house rules, what are we talking about for the average person?
Well, when you initially mentioned this topic, I'm like, for the most part, the game's the same. Anywhere you go, the craps game is the same. But once I started thinking through it, there are significant, really, changes and differences throughout the whole country. And I've been, fortunate or unfortunate enough to live in multiple states, all with different craps. And then obviously through the Color Up community, I get, input from everyone. So there are rules. So house rules, house/casino. A lot of times they refer to themselves as the house, right? So the casino. So house rules, your casino rules can be or probably are different from the one next door, the one across the town, the one across the country. So there are some kind of standards, but once you dig in, there are some rules that can significantly make a pretty big difference in your game just because they feel like it. They make the rules themselves. Those are their house rules.
Okay. So that's how you say it. And does it have anything to do with probabilities? Does it have anything to do with odds? I know we're going to be talking about table layouts and all that kind of stuff to look for. So what do you think we ought to focus on there first?
Well, usually, so the dice probabilities don't change, and there's that part of the game is standard anywhere. There was a situation, like even states like California that use card craps, which I didn't even put in the notes. That's one of the variations. People use cards to skirt the rules of using dice. So they use playing cards, and the odds and probabilities are still the same. There was a casino or two that actually, because of how they did that, they did have a little different odds and probability. Oh, wow. But as far as I know now, everyone there's like 4 different variations of card craps, and they all essentially line up with the dice. So that's not really an issue anymore. So as far as the odds of the dice go, everyone's the same. So really the main rules you're looking for are rules that benefit you as a player. Okay. And we're talking things like, I think most common people know like blackjack, right? The rule used to be 3-2. That was the payoff if you got a blackjack. And now you see so many casinos are 6-5. Well, if you know anything about blackjack, 3-2 is a better payoff than 6-5. So, and a lot of people won't even play blackjack if that's the rule change. So those are the kind of rules that you'll see varied throughout so many different casinos and on so many different dice tables are basically kind of payout rules and those type of things.
Okay.
That's where you'll see the most change in house rules, I think.
All right. And so let's go in to start getting at them a little bit. Odds rules, which I have I think behind me over here for those of you looking, those don't usually change, the true odds once you get to the odds bet and those kind of things, right? So let's talk about the maybe the table layout. So like for a field bet, something like that. You want to get into specifics on those, or?
Yeah, I mean there's so many, right? Well, I mean, I guess the big one is if you're talking about table layouts, crapless craps is a big one.
So let's start there with the major difference, which is crapless craps.
Yeah, I mean that's almost a completely different table game. Really, it's so what it is they remove the don't, and you can establish a point of the 2, 3, 11, and 12. So you don't have craps numbers anymore.
Okay.
And so you can't throw a craps number. If you roll a 2, 3, and 12, normally you would lose in the standard game of craps, but in crapless, that's the name, you would just get a point of 2, 3, or 12. So that is a huge difference, but I almost feel like that's a completely different game.
All right,
so is that a house
that.
rule? Not really. That I would say that's a completely different game and worth its own podcast, right? Discussion.
Okay.
So
that could be another one. So
yeah.
How about like table layouts themselves? You lived in a lot of cities.
Yeah.
Layouts on the standard game different? And like I said, I knew the big one on the field bets or that's the big one or the one that sticks out to me a lot and maybe a lot of other people.
Probably the first thing you go and look. Well, I mean, if you start the basics, color, some are colorful, different colors, some are different fibers, some are, that doesn't really affect the game too much. Well, some people, dice controllers, they like hard versus soft. So there is some differences there. There is no standard for casinos, so they can do whatever they want there. But if you're looking at the printed layout, probably the first thing people notice is the field bet. And so the field covers the same numbers, but usually they're going to pay you double if you roll a 2 and double if you roll a 12.
Okay. House
edge is 5.5%. But sometimes one of those numbers, typically it's the 12, they'll pay triple on. So if you hit it, you get paid 3-1. That cuts the house edge in half to 2.5%. I've actually been into a casino in New Mexico. It's kind of like a promotional thing to bring people in. They paid triple on both numbers.
Oh wow!
In that case, it's actually a 0% house edge. So
when you say cut the house edge, and again, the house rules, cut the house edge from 5% to 2.5%. To the newer craps player, what does that mean?
Essentially, what a house edge is, the cost of playing that bet. So theoretically, whenever you see a field bet with it pays double on the 2 and 12, the house edge is 5%. What you can know is whatever amount you bet, the casino theoretically is going to keep 5% of your money.
Okay.
So, you're probably going to win. If you make the bet, you're going to win the bet or you're going to lose the bet and get 0, right? You're like, well, how do you get 5% of that? Like it's either all or nothing, right? When you make a bet. But this is based off of overtime and they see thousands of players, right? So this is like a theoretical long-term number. That is just the built-in amount that, hey, they don't pay back 100% of the bet. They pay back essentially 95%. And they know if you make a field bet, they're keeping 5%.
So it's commission.
Commission, VIG is a lot of time what it's called, but it's essentially house edge. And so if you can find a layout that says it pays triple, well, now hey, now they're only going to keep 2.8%. And then if it paid triple on both, they don't keep any actually. It's a completely fair bet. So if you win it, they pay you the true odds of rolling the bet. So the field bet's a big one. Some differences you'll see on the layout. Some will have a big 6 and 8. It's kind of an old bet that some jurisdictions like I think New Jersey and maybe some other East Coast places, they said it's such a bad bet for the player, you're not legally allowed to print the big 6 and 8 on your layout anymore.
Oh.
Just because you can make a place bet 6 and 8 and it gets paid better, why would you make a big 6 and 8? So they kind of felt like it was vulturing on the consumer, so they've removed it in certain jurisdictions. So that's one. Some layouts you'll see hot bets printed on it, which is a 1-roll bet on a specific dice combination. Some you won't see it. So you have to ask the casino, hey, do you accept hot bets? Because even if it's not printed, some of them will accept a hot bet even though it's not printed on the layout. So that could be a big difference. In my neck of the woods, historically, on the don't pass, it says bar the 12 in your casino, which means essentially if you roll a 12, it's a push. In Northern Nevada, some of the casinos still do it. They bar the 2 probability wise, mathematically wise, it's the same thing. They just went with 2 to be a little bit different than the 12. So you can kind of see a layout difference like that. As far as layouts, that's all I can think of. I can definitely, and I'm not sure if we skipped over it, but as far as house rules, man, there's so many. Buy bets and lay bets are the big thing.
Yeah, I've got it on the list
I know
here.
later we do prop bets. I think we've covered the field bet pretty good. There's where vig amounts are rounded, and that's a discussion about pushing the house. So I'm not sure where you want to go next, but as far as the layout itself, when you see it printed, probably the most notable thing is, hey, do I see a prop bet, or do I see like a bonus bet or side bet, some sort of carnival bet added to the game, which is popular the last couple decades. The field bet right away, you'll notice.
Is there a place where these house rules are printed? Are they printed on the card at the table for the new people, or do you have to go on the website, or how? You just have to ask.
It's so
rules. What is it?
It's so funny because some will have them written on their website or in some printed material somewhere. Usually, if you go up to the table, there'll be either a placard or a digital placard, but typically there'll be a couple rules on it depending on the casino. Usually, it's just minimum, maximum bets allowed at the table, maybe the odds bet allowed. Very few rules are listed there. But why I say it's funny is because sometimes the dealers themselves are a little confused on some of these minutia rules. Okay. So you could talk to one dealer, and then the night shift comes in and they think the rule is something different, and then you talk to the pit boss and the new pit boss, and they're like, well, it's this, and the other guy's like, I think it's this. So I mean, the rules do get so fine. There are such minutia rules that sometimes even the casinos and the dealers themselves don't know what their house rules are, which, wow. I mean, you would think, but there are just so many, and we'll cover some of them. But yeah, what have you?
Well, I was going to say, how about on these? Is this going to scare off a new player for unwritten rules and things like that?
No.
Or is that going to affect the new player, or is that just more for the advanced players who are?
Yeah, not really. And that's why initially when you said, how do house rules affect? I'm thinking, well, for the beginner, not really, because the basic game's the basic game every casino you go to. Mm-hmm. But once you get into the game and get more advanced, then you realize, hey, wow, when it pays triple on the 12, significant difference if I like to utilize the field bet. Hey, if I bet the 4 and 10, huge differences in how much you can get paid and how much you can cut the house edge. Mm-hmm. If you make the standard bet, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to make or break you. But as an advanced player, you want to take advantage of all these different house rules. And some people will travel and go to, different casinos because of that. But this is really pretty much advanced stuff. I'd say as the beginner, the rule, the standard place bet payouts are the same. The standard line bets and odds, they're all going to kind of be the same. So you don't have to worry about that as a beginner. There's nothing like they're going to trick you or nothing you're going to get away from. But there are more advantage-wise reasons to play at one casino over the other.
So I know you've said in a lot of your videos, hey, if you want to find a casino that takes the vig or vigorish or commission on the win, don't pay it up front. Why is that a big rule for the player?
It goes back to that house edge of how much the casinos keep it. Mm-hmm. And the rule are on, so with every number, the box numbers 4 through 10, you can place them as the standard, or you can buy them, or you can lay them, which is betting against the number. But let's stick with place and buy. The 6 and 8 bet, just how the math and rules work out, you always place them. There is never a reason to go, hey, I want to buy the 6, which essentially a buy bet is you get paid true odds, but you have to pay a 5% commission.
Okay.
or 5% vig. And then place bets, the house odds are built into the bet. So under no circumstance does it make sense to buy the 6 and 8.
Okay.
Easy enough. Now you move out to the 5 and 9. Again, you should always place bet it unless they take the vig only if you win the bet. So that essentially, if you want to make a $20 bet, some casinos would say, okay, we want the vig up front. Give us $21 and you can buy the 5 and 9.
Okay.
And the math just does not make sense to do that. So under no circumstance would you want to do that. You would just place bet it instead. But there are casinos, and typically it's like, I think Biloxi, just kind of that central mid-south area. I don't know what you call it.
Okay.
I know a lot of those casinos will allow you to buy the 5 and 9 with the vig only on the win. So that means so you place your $20 bet, and then if and only if you win, then do they collect 5%, which is essentially $1 for every $20.
Okay.
So in those casinos, you would buy bet versus place bet.
Because you'll get more money also. And
you'll get paid better, and how much they take from you, and the commission drops significantly. Now, the 4 and 10 is the most common number, and in the 4 and 10, it's always better to buy the bet.
Okay.
So it's always better to pay the commission, whether it's up front or behind. So, for instance, the 4 and 10 are pretty significant. So when you're looking at a place bet, their commission is 6.7%.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, you're almost prop bet zone if you make a place bet on the 4 and 10. If you buy the 4 and 10 and you take that dollar up front, they go, hey, cool, you could buy it. So now we're going to pay you $40 for your 20, but we're going to keep that dollar up front. They collect that dollar up front. So you're essentially betting 21 to win 40.
Right.
Now the house edge drops to 4.7. If they say, hey, you know what, bet that 20, it's a buy bet, and if you win, we're going to pay you 40 minus that 5%, so they collect it only on the win. Now the house edge goes down to 1.7%.
Oh, that's good.
So either way, you get paid 39. The difference is if you lose the bet, and you paid up front, you lose 21. If the vig's only on a win, you only pay, if you lose the bet, you only pay 20. So it drops the house edge from 4.7 to 1.7. 1.7, hey, that's a good bet.
Sure.
If you can keep your house edge under 2%, that's a pretty good bet. So that's where it's like a huge difference. You go from a place bet, a 6.5%, to a buy bet if the vig's only on a win at 1.5%. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Excellent.
So that's where there's certain numbers that it makes sense to pay that vig. And it is kind of a weird, I can't explain on here. It's kind of you're still paying 5%, but long term, they're only keeping 1.7% of your money.
Okay. So let's get to the big one, which is the odds bet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Every casino I've ever been at, if you make a place bet, the new players, the old players, whatever, the dealer always says, hey, you're going to put your odds back there. Do you want to put your odds? And how do they vary from casino to casino? Is it significant for new players? And what is the advantages and disadvantage, in your opinion, of the odds bet?
So if for a beginner, you don't have to worry about. So essentially the odds bet is, we talked about taking a vig or commission or house edge. With the odds bet, there is no house edge. So as I mentioned before, that means they pay fairly for the true odds of rolling the number.
Okay.
So it's a completely fair bet, and they don't take any percent out of the bet. So
some people say it's the best bet in the casino.
Yeah, there is no other bet that will do that and pay and take no percent, because the casino always takes a percent, right?
That's right.
So if they did that with all the bets in the casino, they wouldn't make any money because they're not collecting any percentage back. So with this bet, they don't collect any money. So in that sense, it is an amazing bet because the casino doesn't allow you.
Yeah,
right, no commission. So the trick is they don't allow you to make it unless you first have a line bet established.
Okay.
And the line bet has a 1.4% house edge. So the first bet, there's always house edge, but then you can add additional money. I always called it an additional bet. You're adding more money. And in that case, that bet is paid true and fair, which is a great bet.
Okay.
And then, so casinos will differ on how much you're allowed to make in this free odds bet, no house edge bet. So some will allow you to go 2 times of whatever your bet is. If you bet $10, hey, we'll allow you 2 times. Some will allow you 3, 4, 5 times. Some will allow you 10 times. Some, I don't know if any exist currently, but recently there was casinos that allowed you to do 100 times, which means if you got a $10 bet, you could bet $1,000 in this cool, fair bet.
Right.
So it does, and those are usually rules that are, they tell you right up front, hey, this is how many odds you can take. My thoughts on the odds bet.
I know you're not a big fan.
Well, yes and no. So I just say just keep in mind it's an additional bet. If you want to make $20 bet, then yeah, bet $10 and bet $10 in odds because you're on that $10 of it, you're going to get paid more. If you can afford $30 bets, $10 pass line, $20 odds, then it's a great deal. But if you can only afford $10, don't feel any pressure because guess what? The guy who bets $10 and the guy who bets, let's say he does 5 times odds. So his bets are $60. If we go house edge, both players are going to lose 1.4% of their $10.
Okay.
In the end, it doesn't matter. Now, the difference is one guy has $60 bet, one guy has $10 bet. So the fluctuation, the volatility of your bankroll is going to be more significant.
So it doesn't impact the probabilities of the win.
No,
it's just the payouts. So like the 6 and 8, 5 ways to roll 6, 5 ways to roll 8, and the three ways to roll the 4 and 10 or whatever. There's 6 ways to roll 7. So it doesn't change your probabilities of winning.
And so they only allow you to make the bet when you're the underdog, right? So you can't do it when on the come out roll when you're the favorite to win. So once you're the established underdog on a number, now you can make this bet that pays fair. Mm-hmm. Now it does we talked about house edge. It does lower the house edge on the combined bet. So if I have $10 bet and I add $10 in odds, that combined bet of $20 is now drops from 1.4 to about 0.8. That's pretty significant. I think I have it in the notes somewhere.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, as you add more odds.
2 times odds is 0.57.
Okay.
I guess that's for on the backside, I guess.
Yeah, so that's combined. So essentially, if you're betting $10 and 2 times odds, which would be $30 total, that $30 total bet, you're looking at 0.57% house odds, which is good. But to me, it's like if you're a pass line or comeback player, you probably want to have the bankroll to add at least single odds because it's pretty significant. It cuts it about in half of what the casino's take is. After that, it does keep cutting it, but the more, you're risking instead of a $10 bet or a $20 bet, now you're in the $50, $60 bet range. How much that, the difference between 0.5% and 0.3%, not a huge difference.
Right.
But in your real pocket, the difference between $20 and $60 is pretty significant. So I'd say if you're a line better, if you can do single odds, do it. Otherwise, I would probably recommend you be a place bet player. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you be a line and come bet player if you don't ever plan on doing odds.
Okay.
Long term, yes, your expected loss is the same, but if you want to cut the house edge and on your combined total bet, want to lower the house edge, do at least 1 times odds.
Okay.
So
overall, it's if you can afford it, but if you can't, you're new, just do the place bets is what you're saying. because
Well, I
it's
mean,
not
you
going
can
to lower it that much.
Yeah, it's not huge. We're talking so on $100 bet, you're expected to lose $1.40. If
Right.
you make it $100 bet with $100 in odds, well, now you're expected to lose 80 cents versus $1.40. And then, you add 2 times odds, now you're down to 50 cents. So 80 cents, 50 cents, you're betting $200,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's
So
not, yeah.
yeah, so the percentage wise to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But hey, if you're a millionaire, and the way to play the game would be, $10 with $1,000 in odds and cut that house edge to, 2 cents for every $100 bet, right?
And then hope
just
for some
because you
luck.
can, yeah, and hope for some luck. Because again, you're betting when you're most likely to lose. You're still it's still a game of chance, but if you played for 100 years, you should only lose 0.02% of your money. That's the silly part of this. It's like they push it on you like, oh, you're going to save a little percentage. But I mean, if you
Not
go,
that
if you,
much better. Yeah.
yeah, if you go play for 3 hours, you're going to win $300, or you're going to lose all your money, right? You're going to lose your
Right.
$500 depending on if the dice roll in your favor or not. It's not like you go play a session at the local casino and you go, hey, I came back and I lost, $32, which is 8% of my money, right? Or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just,
you don't.
it just doesn't work out like that. We're not talking about these small percentages, but if you become a player, again, that's why I'm saying the beginner, don't worry about it. But as an advanced player, why not take advantage of these little small percentages? Because they add up over time, especially if you're going to, if you play every other weekend over a year's period, it's going to add up, So you definitely want to make the most advantage bet you can. Why play the 6-5 blackjack when you can get 3-2 blackjack? It just makes zero sense. If you know the rules, play the better game.
Play that one.
Okay. And some casinos or some towns, you don't have that option, right? Just comes down to, and so you just have to ask. And like you said earlier, where are they posted? Usually not posted everywhere. So it's a lot of times is you have to ask, and sometimes you have to, like I said, you have to ask the second crew that comes in because they might not know. Yeah, it's the craziest thing, but a big one of that comes into where they round the vig. I don't know if this is.
Yeah, let's go for it now.
This is kind of getting really in depth. I don't know how many people are into this, but okay, the standard buy bet $20 because it rounds nicely. 5% vig is $1.
Okay.
Well, when you get to $40, 5% would be a $2 vig.
2, right?
Simple math, okay? So at what point do you go from $1 to $2? So some casinos will allow you to bet $25, $26, $30. And essentially at $30, the VIG, 5%, should be $1.50. But, a lot of tables don't have quarters.
Yeah, they don't.
So they round it down and go, now you can make a $30 bet and it only costs you $1. And that's called pushing the house. Now, some casinos will go, we'll allow you to go 35. We'll allow you to go to $39 and round down, and it still only costs you $1. I don't know the math in front of me right now, but that is a significant cut on the house edge and then at $40 they go 5% is $2. So you got to pay $2. But if you can get a $39 bet for only $1 as opposed to, a $20 bet for the same dollar, that's a pretty darn good bet.
That's right.
And those are the ways that you can take advantage. But if you ask the guy,
take advantage of the rules, take advantage
of the rules.
Yes,
Yeah, it's not cheating or anything like that. No. And that's where the problem where the guy goes, hey, so how big of a bet can I make before you go to $2 vig? And the one guy will be like, yeah, $30. The next guy will be like, I think you can go to 39. And the next guy will be like, no, it's $20. And then at $30 is 2, or $40 is 2. And you go, well, what about 35? And they go, $20 it's 1, $40 it's 2. And you're like, well, what about 35? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to ask and get the right person. And And the one guy, customer service, a lot of them, they don't want to look ignorant. So they'll be like, it's cost $1 until you get to 30. And then the next guy will be like, no, you can go to 39 with $1. So it's like, I don't know.
So it's like my favorite answer in economics class. It depends.
Yeah, it depends who you're dealing with. So, which is a shame. But I mean, again, you're talking about pennies difference per dollar. But for the regular, you want to be an advanced player, you should know the rules, find out the rules, take advantage of the best rules possible. The beginner, if it's $1 or $2 for a $20 bet or $40 bet,
matter.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
So this is really stuff that's in the minutia, and that's why, maybe your local dealer doesn't even know the rules, just because it's like very few players are getting into this.
Back to the table layouts and the bonus bets. And that's
okay.
That new players talk about. You'll hear people say, "Give me the hard 10," or the, or maybe it's the bonus bet, something like ATS or fire bet. They'll ask you about the fire bet or the repeater bet. Do those rules change from place to place? Is there a standard?
Yeah. Well,
or is it
let me back up to you mentioned hard ways. So
yeah.
For the most part, I'm just pulling a percentage out of my rear end here. I'd say 95%. If it's a hard way, essentially, which is if there's only one combination out of 36 to roll it, they're going to pay you 30 to 1. So if you bet $1, you get paid 30. Now, some layouts will have it printed 31 for 1. Which means the same thing, because they take away your $1 and they give you 31 for the 1, you net 30. Some casinos, you bet $1, they go 30 and add it to the 1, you've netted $30.
So the 2 and the 12 is what you're talking about when there's one combination.
2 and 12, we're talking hot bets, anything. And so if you think about house edge, there's 36 ways to roll that, or one out of 36 ways to roll that. If you were talking about true odds, you would get paid $36 for that.
Right.
But they don't pay you fair. They only pay you 30, and they keep $6 essentially.
It's like a big commission there.
It is a big commission. So that's why all the stuff on the table are 9%, 11%, 13%, 16%. So now you're talking, they are keeping a large percent of your money. And these bets all in the middle are one roll bets, which means they're keeping 10%, 15% of your money every single roll. So it adds up super fast. And that's why, most people would say, hey, those are sucker bets, because huge percentage that they're keeping and it's churned so fast. Okay. So yeah, in the center of the table, that's a big kind of difference in the layouts is 31 for 1 versus 30-1 means the same thing.
Same thing.
Like I said, 95% of casinos that way. There are some, I think it's Caesar's Palace in Vegas.
Okay.
They pay 30 for 1 and 15 for 1. So you know what that means? They're paying 29 to 1.
Okay.
They're paying 14 to 1.
So and again, a house rule that has even a higher commission.
Yeah, higher commission, because it should pay 36, and most casinos are paying 30. They're squeezing, they're punching you a little more 29. And taking you to 29. Yeah,
That's terrible. Being greedy, Jeremy.
Essentially, that's what it is. I mean, you said no. You said that. You said the side bets, ATS is a
like all those
fire
guys.
bet.
What about them? Yeah. Is there a standard payout on this?
Not really. I mean, there are like semi-standards. When let's pick the most popular one. The all tall small bet is probably the most popular nowadays. Currently, 10 years ago, it's probably the fire bet. All tall small is essentially you got to roll all the numbers before you roll the 7. When it first came out, if you rolled all the numbers, you got paid. I think it was $175.
Sounds right. Yeah.
And then if you roll the lower numbers, you got paid
35, right? 35.
Yeah, 35 or 34. Maybe it was like 174 and 35, I think. Yeah. Now, and a couple of those still exist. And for a side bet, the house edge is in the 7% range. Not terrible for a carnival side bet. Fun bet with a big payoff. But a lot of casinos, talking about greed, they go, it's becoming popular. Why don't we still make it exciting where we pay them $150 for their $1 bet, but they lowered how much they paid. So they went from $174 to $150. Still sounds exciting for the player, but look at the huge difference they're collecting. Oh, yeah. And then they went from 34. Well, now we'll drop those down to 30, though from 50, we'll drop those down to 30. Right. So, is that right? 150 and 30 are the most popular now.
150 and 30, I think.
Yeah, 150 and 30. So now the house edge went from 7%. It's over 20% now.
Yeah, that's a big.
It's a big chunk of change. Which
one out of every $5.
Yeah. If you win the bet, I win $150, but they're keeping 20% from you, right, to put in their own pockets.
And they're taking it on the front.
And all it is just a little change in the rule. Like, hey, let's instead of 175 or 174, we're going to pay 150. And we're gonna now as a casino, instead of winning 7%, now I win 20%. And the customer's still happy because customers are dumb, right? And they don't know. Hey, you go to the you go to the casino next door, and they want to attract customers, so they're still paying 174. We'll just pay 150. Like, so that's things like that do come in significantly for house rules. So
I had one. Let me tell you this one real quick. I had one where on the opening weekend, at the opening day, where they made it was a new change at Bally's up in Dover, and they made you make a line bet in order for you to participate with the ATS bet. And the people there about lost their mind. I had people like walking away from the table. They were the regulars who knew no, that's what the boss man said. And it was a lot of angst and fights at the table. So again, that wasn't written down anywhere. It's just what the pit boss said, and that's what the man upstairs said, and that's where they're going. I don't know if they still do that or not, or if they're going maybe when we get to the monster roll, if there's anybody watching it, maybe they can tell us. But that's a pretty significant rule in my opinion.
I've heard of that.
Participate.
I've also here's kind of a similar one to participate. I think in Oklahoma, I know this is the case, you get charged an ante. So if you want to make a pass line bet, you got to pay $1 ante. If you on the come out roll, if you lose that bet and have to make another one, you pay another $1 ante.
Oh wow! Just
to play the game, you have to pay $1 ante. That's just their house rule. Now there are some. This is all tribal casino in Oklahoma. So in Oklahoma, it's a rule across the state. They all have to collect that ante. Now some tribal casinos, they say, hey, the player doesn't have to pay that, but they keep track of it internally because they do have to turn it into the state.
So it's like built in.
Yeah, they do collect it, but they don't, they essentially, as advertising or goodwill to the player, they don't, they're covering that cost for you. But because of the state of Oklahoma, they do have to collect, whether, they collect it pass on that amazing fee to the player or not. Everyone's collecting the $1. But so it allows some casinos in Oklahoma to go, hey, we're ante-free. They're not. They're collecting it and paying the state, but they're not passing along that crappy fee to the player. So yeah,
you make a place bet. Do you have to ante?
No,
pay the ante? Just on the pass line.
Yeah, to start a new game. I think if you go, hey, I'm not going to make a pass line bet, I'm just going to be a place bet player. I think you are required to make an ante bet. I think it's if you're going to make any bet, you have to pay it. It's just insane. So house rules and I'm sure there's all kinds of wacky stuff throughout the country. Those are probably some of the bigger ones that, would require a line bet. Man, there's so many. Cruise ships, their odds are all kinds of wackiness.
Oh yeah.
It's like a $10 bet, you can make single odds. If you want to make double odds, you have to make a $25 bet. So it's like built in increments. And Once you make a $50 line bet, now you can bet 3, 4, 5 times odds, which is
Very
really weird,
expensive.
right?
Yeah, very expensive.
One thing I've noticed on the cruise I've been on, they treat the field bet as a prop bet. So I don't think we mentioned that, but usually a table limit will have a certain amount. Like you have minimum bets $5, minimum bets $10, minimum bets $15. So all your individual bets have to meet that minimum. Okay. But the prop bets can be lower. So they can, you bet on a 12 or a hard way, it's $1. Well, on cruise ships, some of these cruise ships, the field bet they treat as a prop bet, and you can make $1 on a $10 minimum bet. So that's pretty cool. I'm knocking over chips here.
That's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just different. And again, you gotta ask. Again, not a huge deal for the beginner, but as an advanced, if you consider yourself an advanced player, find the rules and then go to the places that are more advantaged for you.
So the best thing I think is to go to a place where you can have a choice. Like don't go to a destination place that only has one casino, or if there's 2 casinos, they're both run by the same company. That's what I think you need.
Yeah, a lot of times companies will kind of have the rules the same throughout. But again, like some companies, when they're, Caesars properties, they're all over the country, and they will vary by region of the country. But, what I would say is it's not enough to make or break anything. Like if you're going to go visit your dad in whatever state and they have a casino that's an hour away, you're going to be just fine. You don't need to be like, I really should travel an additional 4 hours because they have casinos with a little better rules. Don't worry about it. Now, if you usually competition breeds better rules.
Okay.
So, but don't go out of your way to get these special rules unless you're a very regular, if you just gamble twice a year or just for summer vacation, or, you're visiting someone in a part of the country and you want to go play, it's not, I would say go for the atmosphere. And there's so many other things that I would put above.
That was going to be one of the questions.
Okay.
House rules. Like how about the big one is smoking or non-smoking. Some places
house rule, yeah.
House rule is no
and some of that's dictated by state, right? So not necessarily house rules, kind of state rules, which dictates what the house sets. But yeah, I would say like that is a big choice, smoking or non-smoking versus, whether you can bet $39 buy bet versus a $20 buy bet. You're pushing the house. So, because when you're talking about betting, like I said, you're talking about long-term math. If you're hot, you're going to win. Like a sucker bet is a great bet if you win it, and it's a bad bet if you're going to lose it. Who cares if it's, 1% versus a 3% bet? Like, it's not going to be the end of the world for you.
Not a big deal.
There are more important things as a recreational gambler than the house rules, but it's a very cool topic for sure.
How about table limits? We didn't even mention table limits. Should anybody be worried about table limits and why? Most people, or do you have to be?
There are circumstances where it is a big deal, but I would say, especially as a recreational player, you want the lowest possible, just because your money can go further, right? $5 tables used to be somewhat popular, right? We had COVID, and some people took advantage. Casinos could only allow 4 players around the table, and there was glass dividers. So they're like, we just lost 12 players at our table. Guess what? Instead of $10, now we're $25 and $50.
Yeah.
And some have come down, some have not come down. So it literally varies. If you're a center strip, you can find $15 tables in Vegas. I'm talking about on the weekend, it's going to be $25, $50, $100. If you go to the end of the strip or off a block, you could find $10 tables on the weekend, $15, $25 tables. Okay. So, and then, some parts of the country, I've been in parts of Michigan, other places, Washington, $5 tables, no problem. Because $5 tables are profitable for casinos.
Yes.
So it's not like they can't afford it. They just, Maryland Live, they're famous for like 25 is the minimum weekend. We're like $100. I don't know if it's because their customer base or whatever, right? But they can raise their prices to that much and still keep the tables full. So that's their balance. I mean, why not squeeze the player for as much as possible? I would say the minimum is important to you as a player, but to a degree, the maximum is also important as well. And where that comes in is when you do have a long roll and you're winning, because the game ebbs and flows. You're going to lose some money, and hopefully on a big roll, if you're a light side player, is where you win all your money back plus some, right? So I was invited to play in, I think it was the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
They had a $10 max roll. Maximum bet was $10. So great. You can bet as low as $5, but your maximum bet is only $10. And what I call that is squeezing. So they made that rule because they're like, we're protecting the player. We don't want people to become addicted or not be able to pay their rent. So instead of being able to bet $1,000, we're going to cap it and you can only bet $10. The problem is you lose $5, you lose $5, you lose $5, 8 shooters, you lose $5 or, craps your bet in multiple bets. You're losing $20.
Right.
And the 10th player, he has a monster roll and you can only win $10, $10, $10. Like you can't
number or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't raise your bets up. There's no room to take advantage of. The spread is not big enough to take advantage of. When I lived in Blackhawk or near Blackhawk, Colorado, the state said you can only bet $100. Same problem. Like on a hot hand, you couldn't, that was your cap. You couldn't bet anymore. So they say it's for protection of the player, but it turns out, as in most government things, great idea in theory, but
good intentions.
Yeah, good intentions. But me as a player, I'm not going to bet $1,000. But if I start at 10 and the roll has lasted an hour and I'm keep pressing, and I'm winning now $500, now $600, now $800. I want to be able to go to $1,000 and be able to win $10,000 with a massive hand. But with that state law, they've since changed it. But with that state law, it's like amazing roll, and I've won $500.
You couldn't.
It's like, so they squeeze you a little bit. You got to look out for the squeeze. So some tables, they'll be like $5, 500. I don't know what the country kind of standard is. It's in the thousands, right? It might be like $1,000 max bet, $2,000, $5,000. You'll see at a lot of tables, but you got to look out for that squeeze when they're like, your minimum bet's 100. But your maximum bet's only 1,000. That's a heck of a squeeze. Like if your minimum bet's 100, you should be allowed to bet like 10,000 if you get in a monster hand. And that's kind of another way they get you a little bit. So,
okay. So
any
other big thoughts? I mean, it sounds like you need to do some homework before you go, right? Or if it's just going for the one or twice a year, you just take what you get.
Yeah, I would say there's more important things than the specific house rules because the game, for the most part's the same. So go for smoking or not smoking. Go for, hey, I got a great rate at their hotel, or hey, my uncle lives there, or whatever comps, or they give. I happen to like the waiters and waitresses or the cocktail people that come around, or I like the dealers, And I go there every summer on vacation, not a big deal. I mean, if you live in a city and you got 4 or 5 casinos, and you're going every weekend, every other weekend, starts to make a difference. And I would find out the house rules. Then it becomes more important, where you might be like, this place, they got some, I don't know, like dealers to me might be more important than house rules, but it's like, it's not as convenient, it's 10 minutes further. I would probably drive it for the house rules if I'm, a super regular player, but you got to kind of weigh out those things that might be more important than to you. So, I don't know where you rank that. That's a very personal question. I would say there's a lot more important things than house rules as far as the table game itself. But that's going to be up to you where you're at, how it ranks for you. But definitely, they are not the same. And in some places, it could be a significant difference. You're talking about place bet it's almost 7% versus a buy bet with a vig on the win on the 4 and 10. Hey, I like to bet the 4 and 10 down to, a little over 1%. It's significant,
If you're going to be playing, so it makes a difference. So you just need to, again, frequency of play would be one thing.
Yep.
Reason for the play, and then competition would determine whether you should spend some time even looking at that, right?
Yeah, I would say so. How would you kind of rank for you? I mean, your schedule is you gamble a few times a year.
Yeah, not much at all. So with me, if I have a choice between smoking and non-smoking casino, I will go with a non-smoking casino. And then after that, it's going to be table minimums. So house rule on that is a big deal. That's why I like going to Dice Con, because we can, sometimes I'll stay at the resort places. This time I stayed downtown, and the table minimums were much cheaper, like you were saying. So that enables a smaller player like me to, make a big deal and stay longer at the table with hopefully winning. But I never really thought about table max because, I put myself on a max. So I don't do that. But then you're looking at stuff like the property, the pool, where's your wife going to enjoy it? What shows do they have? How close are you to the other friends? So those are the things that make a big difference for me as what I'll call a recreational destination kind of player. But if I was to be, like, I have a casino, a few miles from my house over here that opened up over a year ago, and I've been twice, both time with my uncle and my sister. And I just have no desire to go over there and play. I have my own little table over here. I look forward to playing with my friends. It's a social thing. So that's those are the things that make a big difference for me, but maybe it's different for other people. And again, I don't know what other factors that would influence me. I do like the comps, though. I tell you, when you start sending me plane tickets and offering me hotels and stuff like that, I'm amazed at that.
So when you send comps, do you care if they take the vig on the win or not? When they go, hey, you get a 3-day stay with us, do you care if the vig's up front?
I don't even know, because I play the same way. I play low house edge. I play cum bets. I play cum bets with single odds, and then if I win, I'll go to double. If I win, I'll even go triple. And I've done 10-time odds when I was way ahead a couple of times.
Well, 10 times odds, that's not super standard, right? So a lot of standard is 3, 4, 5. So you couldn't go to 10 times. No. So that is a specific casino, right?
Yeah. So, in fact, I was trying to think, it was Ellis Island. Are they 10 times odds?
Yeah, they're 10 times.
Yeah, I think that. So when we went for Dice Con, and I got up after I won the ATS, and I was like, man, I want to take advantage of this and play some mathematical. And I made one bet with 10 times odds. It was a $10 table, and I was just hoping. And again, with house money. And then,
So you cut the edge from 1.4 down to 0.18. So they were, instead of $1.40, they're only taking 18 cents of your every $100 bet. I mean,
and
theoretically,
and then bought a $100 Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly. And then you lose the bet, and you're like, wait, it's an amazing bet that only
it's so great.
It's so great, and yet they swept away all my money, and I got a Diet Coke left in my hand, and I'm out my $500, right? So. Yeah. That's where it's like, house edge, house rules are a thing, but the grand scheme of thing,
not so much.
And I agree with you. There's more important things in life than a couple of those rules. But if you want to take advantage of it the best you can, and you're a regular, shop around because they vary, and they vary pretty significantly. Yeah. Anything else on the list that we didn't cover as far as this goes?
I didn't see anything. Final thoughts I had were, do your homework before you leave if you're going to a place with them, and that way before you go, and maybe ask. And that's why it's great to be in the Color Up Club, where we got people all over the country.
You just shoot it out in our Discord. They'll let you know.
Let you know ASAP, because I guarantee you we got somebody wherever the casino is, there's probably somebody in this club that's playing there, maybe even tonight. So,
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, I think it was a good topic. So we'll go ahead and move on, I guess, to the monster roll.
I think we can head to the monster roll.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's a good one.
let's see. Let me first off see if anyone. All right, I'm seeing comments, and we'll get through the comments. For those that you don't know, in the Discord there is a link for Riverside, which allows you to join our platform, and you can join us on screen and ask your questions. Now, it looks like everyone here is coming in through YouTube, which is fine. I love that, and we'll answer some questions here. But you do have an option to join us on video if you want to be semi-famous on the
or infamous.
or infamous. Not really. Facebook. I see one comment. I don't even know how to pull that one up on. You might be able to pull the Facebook comment.
I'm pulling up. There it is. Me talking. So it says, it's Derek and Leslie. They're saying hello, Jeremy from Kentucky.
Hello, Jeremy. Do I know Derek? Derek and Leslie?
Derek and Leslie D. Wedding.
Is that friends of yours?
No, it says hello, Jeremy from Kentucky. It must be friends of yours.
I mean, Riverside is an app on your phone. If you're doing a mobile device, it's an app, but otherwise it's just a website. But there's a link to get to my particular one. I posted it in the Discord in the podcast channel. So if you go in there, there's a link specifically that will put you in the lobby that we're talking in right now. And then, you can I download? So on your phone or on a mobile device, you would download the app, but they won't allow you to video conference call. You have to be on a desktop or laptop. And then it's run through your web browser. It's not an app on a desktop, but that is the way that they will then allow you to join video conferencing or video questioning or whatever.
Yeah, and I just realized when I jumped out of the, I didn't have the mic on, and when I got kicked out.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that.
I forgot to open the chat box. So
okay, well you want to start at the top.
Yeah, I'll start at the top. So I'm going to say hey to couple people, Mike 85 Bears, and
it's the same thing. There's a little button you can click show to. Foxwoods in Connecticut, Rivers in Philadelphia are the only craps tables I've ever been that are routinely $10 all week. Oh, wow. Yeah, the East Coast is notorious, if that's the word, for having higher limits. Even though there is competition, they usually have higher minimum table limits. For whatever reason, because I guess they can get away with it. It seems like Midwest and the West a little more competitive, and you'll see $5, $10 tables a lot more regularly for whatever reason. It's just regional. They just can get away with it. Like I said, there are $5 tables that exist, and they exist because they're still profitable. So what is it? The others are just more profitable, right? So
would you say a $10 table is twice as profitable as a $5? Or I don't know.
I would say so, right? The player is now putting double their money down, minimum double. Okay. So the casino is collecting.
But do you have as many players and the frequency of play?
I would say, nowadays the $10 is the new $5. Most people aren't expecting $5 tables anymore. It's great if you got it or your local area, but nowadays it's like, oh wow, wow, there's a $10 table. What a great deal! Which is the fact that we're trained that way is a little sad now. But whenever casinos are $25 on the weekend, it's like, yeah, $10 is a good deal.
Okay.
So, but unfortunately, it's not like blackjack where it's $10 a hand. You can play that way in craps for sure, but usually you cover 2-3 numbers, and now your $10 is now $40-$50.
Yeah, it adds up in a hurry.
So now you're $50 a hand versus, it's a little different. Blackjack is, it's almost kind of like a one roll bet, so it goes quicker, I guess. But I don't know. It's a very expensive game in some parts of the country.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw on here where Thron, our buddy Thron, he's going on a cruise here. And
Yeah.
he's saying he's not looking forward to not having the ATS because a lot of cruise ships don't have the bonus
Yeah,
bets.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any sort of side bet. Freeform Maggie, everything is priced as long as someone is willing to pay. Yeah, that's the problem with living in a capitalist society, right? If they could charge it, they can get away with it. They can do it.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This was. How do you get the comments to come up?
If you hover over it, there's a little show on stream.
Okay, I'm trying.
No.
No, I'm hovering over it.
Maybe as a co-host, it won't let you. No, not over the name, over the comment itself.
No. Yeah, I'm just a little.
Oh, man!
You haven't figured out who the big banana is. It's that guy over there.
I wish I could figure out how to get you.
Yeah, no worries. But great Ray Craps there says, and he says some casinos grandfather lower minimum players when the minimums go up, and that's been true. I there we go. I did it.
No, I did it.
Oh, you did it.
Yeah. I found it as you was reading it.
I was clicking it. Yeah, so I've been on tables, and I start, and literally I'll play for hours. And when I was in Biloxi over at the Beau Rivage, which is the nicest one over there, I think it was $10 when I was over there a year ago. And I went on a long one, and I didn't even notice that they had raised the minimum a couple of times, and that it was like $25 minimum. And but I was doing so well, so I was doing comebacks with maximum odds, not maximum odds, but like 3 or 4 or 5 maximum for me. And then I was just like, the guy came up, and there was finally a spot at the table. A guy comes up, and he said, "Why can't I do a $10 bet like him? He's been here for 6 hours or whatever." So
yeah, that's one. That's definitely
a rule. Yeah,
house rule that we miss. So yeah, it's. I've been on some, and it varies too. So, and again, it can vary by crew at the table. So they grandfathered you in. Some casinos won't grandfather you in at all. Some will be like, hey, the table limit is going from, let's say 5 to 10. So any new players, $10, but you $5 players, at 2:00, you're all going to be $10. So some will do like a time limit. Some will grandfather you in indefinitely until you leave the table. It's just like, hey, that guy right there. I know the table's 25, but that guy, he gets $5, right? So
there you go.
I did that at the Strat. It was me and then a second roller. We're doing really good. We started at $5, and I had a really long roll, and then he had a really long roll. But in the midst of our 2 long rolls, however long that was, they went from 5 to 10 to 25 to $50 table. So the guy next to me, the second long roller, when he was rolling, they were at a $50 table, and it had filled up. But anyone new had to come in at $50, and me and him are playing at $5. I mean, I wish I could. But yeah, it's just how.
It's almost like you're special.
Yeah.
You get something like that. That's definitely a rule. Now I've had that
was a good one, Great T.
Dover, Delaware at Harrington, they'll say, hey, with the next shooter, everybody's going up to 25.
So no grandfathers, yeah.
No grandfather. They get you. So what we all did? We all left. Most of us left. There was a couple of the rich guys, quote unquote rich guys, who had to, when they come up, they buy the $1,000. So then what happens is they're there at the table themselves, and they don't like to play either by themselves, so they'll color up, and then they'll lower it right back down, and then we're back to where we started again. But they'll try to get that
surge pricing.
Surge like Uber. It's like Uber.
Mm-hmm. It's like Uber pricing. So it can actually work the other way for you too. So it's worth an ask. So house rules are, hey, cool, this is a $15 table, and there's no one at it. I always ask, hey, I'll play for 10. Sometimes they say no, and guess what? Sometimes they say, cool, you're in at 10, and they let you play for 10 because why not, right? So in some casinos, they'll be like, hit the road, Jack. We're 25 no matter what. Like, we'll stand here all day picking our nose at 25, but it's worth an ask because those minimums they charge are flexible. And worst case, they can ask, again, talking about house rules, that's when we didn't, but The surge pricing. Table gets full, they raise them up sometimes a grandfather, sometimes they don't, but it can work the other way too. If they're sitting empty, it's worth an ask, because sometimes they'll go, sure, you can play at $5, you can play at $10. So
it's pretty neat. Yeah, and the worst they can say is no.
Yeah. George says, hey guys, are casinos pushing for vig up front on 4 and 10 buy? I don't have a whole lot of experience in the East, or
I would say definitely on my experiences, they want the squeeze
up front.
Yeah, they'll say, hey, throw me
See,
a
where
dollar.
in Vegas, it's actually going the other way. Like if you listen to the Casino Quest guys, they say more and more competing, and they're doing automatic buys, which is the vig on the win. And if you make a bet on the 4 and 10, the vig's just automatically on the win only. So that's a rule that they're kind of using to compete against each other. So in Vegas, it's actually becoming more popular. So I think Atlantic City, I think it might be mandated that they have to take the percentage up front. So it just depends. But it comes down to region. But yeah, Jim's saying it's a lot more up front over there in the East. Here in the West, it's actually becoming more and more common that they're not collecting it up front, which is better for the player. A little bit better rule, which is surprising. In the day and age when they're adding 6-5 blackjack, they're adding 000 roulette. And some rules and craps are actually coming down in the favor of a little bit for the guy.
Maybe because they're trying to get more craps tables open, because we used to be the number one table game.
Yeah.
And then, I was thinking about that too, and I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was, but craps is the only game where you got a big crowd. You can only get so many players at the roulette table. You can only get so many seats at a blackjack table.
Yeah.
And, it might be that 16 or, if you get 16, 8 and 8 or 7, 7, 14, that might be a big reason why it's hard to attract new players when it's crowded. I mean, we've all been there, and you can't even squeeze in. We're all turning in sideways trying to play. That might be a reason why it's kind of dropped down, and they realize you can still make a couple $1 million a year plus on the craps table. It's like, hey, let's get some more of these things in here. So let's see. What else we got on there? You got one?
I think Muhammad earlier said that MGM properties were pretty consistent throughout their properties, which is nice. And he says they do automatic buys in the East and West. So
probably at MGM, if they do that, then MGM National Harbor is doing that over there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know.
Here's another one. It was no smoking law. This is IPA jumping in. He said no smoking in Colorado casinos. It's a state law. I know Cherokee is banned the smoking down there.
But that would be a state law because they're tribal, right? So they can make their own rules as an independent nation. So yeah. But they've decided, no smoking.
And then in Delaware, there's no smoking, but the one closest to me, there's smoking. So, and like I said, it's not a thrill for me to go over there unless my uncle comes in town or something to go hang out and all. And we seem to have the same comment on Facebook, the only one. So I don't see anything else in there, but we've got some people in there, Thrine and Jen and my lovely wife and some other ones in here. But Thrine says he made it to Riverside. So next time, like next week, next Sunday at 5. Well, usually we're probably not going to bring you on at the front of the show, but during the Monster Roll, if you have a camera set up or whatever, we'll bring you on and you can answer any question live, Thrine. Thrine time, that means 8 p.m. on the
there
East
you go.
Coast. Yeah, he's on the East
So
Coast.
Approximately 8:30, 9 o'clock, we can bring you on
as a special guest.
As a special guest, yeah. So.
Hopefully he's back from his. Hopefully he's back by his cruise by then. So I have to text him on that and make sure. But yeah, we'll try to get the mic thing straight for next time.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. We'll have to. Unfortunately, with the live, we can't really cut it. But with when it goes to the podcast platforms, I might have to cut that out a little bit.
We could do another opening right now.
Hey, we do have some news, Jim. Unfortunate news, maybe.
Okay.
You can let us know. I know we've been talking about dice control recently, and we've reached out. We're reaching out to some exciting news. We're reaching out to more and more guests Thanks to
Yes.
Jim. He's doing the heavy lifting there. And so we're going to bring you some insider guests, hopefully. But unfortunately, we reached out to a big name in dice control, and it's not going to happen.
Not doing podcasts.
Yeah, so
more podcasts.
it was a polite response. So he just
wished us well,
yeah.
and
Just not
happy
gonna-
and knew of you.
Hey,
but
we got
yeah,
another
not gonna do it.
Facebook. Hello, my sister says hello, guys. So we got someone
Oh,
else there on
good.
Facebook.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for checking in on Facebook, letting us know that it works out there in Facebook land.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so some guests will say no, and some will say yes, and we will work on bringing you
We'll
what we
ask
can. So yeah,
We'll ask him. Doesn't hurt to ask him.
no. So anyway, a little update on that. I know a lot of people were clamoring, "Hey, bring on the big guy in dice control," and we gave it a shot. Just didn't work out as of right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think any more or less of the person. Just it is what it is.
No, yeah. It is what
It is what it is. So anyway, I think unless I don't see any more questions here. Thrines talking about his cruise. I think he's been asking me some questions and stuff on Discord too.
Okay. Yeah, it's
He's looking forward to cruises and winning a free cruise and going with other family. And unfortunately, he was coming to Reno, and that he's like, "Hey, I just booked my he's got comps. I booked my trip to Reno," and I'm like, "Oh, that is the week that I'm actually on a cruise, so it's not going to work out." But
lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll
World
love hanging
touring.
out with him. Yeah. I know you know him. You met
I'll
him at
eventually
DiceCon,
catch
but
up
it's
with
so
him,
much
yeah.
fun. Oh yeah,
a
one of the
good guy.
greats. Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we wrap it up here, and thank you for bearing with us and our ups and downs of the podcast. So here's
happens.
another one in the books. All right, until next
Bye,
time. Good
everybody.
luck on coloring up.